All right, guys, you can see in my scene, all I have is this plane. But check it out. If I hit render, boom, look what I have here. What is this wizardry? Check this out. Even better, watch this. Whoosh. Look at this thing. Blah. Just totally real time. Procedural. All right, I'm going to show you quickly how to set this up in Blender Octane. The scene file will be down in the description for members in my community. You guys can have this scene right here. Again, who am I? My name is Patrick LeVar. I've been using Blender Octane for the last 3 years and I'm sharing my journey with you guys here. So let's jump into how to set this up. What I'm going to do here is start from scratch. Again, this one will be available for my members down in the community, the setup file here. First thing first, what I'm going to do is add in a plane. Again, it doesn't really matter what the primitive shape is. This is just so we can assign a material to it so we can activate Vectron, right? You can use a cube, box, sphere, it doesn't really matter. Okay, now that I have this selected, what we're going to need to do is jump into our shaders, right? So if I scroll over here, and don't mind these here, we'll close that. What we're going to need to do is assign a shader to it. So I got my shader here. Let me make sure. There we go. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to call this test 2. Now, what we need to do is tell the system, hey, I want you to activate Vectron through this material and through this object. So what we need to do, we go ahead, here is my material. I'm going to delete the universal shader. We don't need that at the moment. But what we need is, if we call it in here and press Shift A, you scroll down here to Octane Geometry, and you come here at Vectron Operators. We're going to do this domain transformation or whatever, and throw that into the displacement slot. Okay, so this is what we've got going here, these two nodes. Now, what we need to do is jump into our object data. And then we're here, geometry nodes. If that's like this, you're going to need to open that up to geometry nodes. And well, what's the material that you want to turn on? We want to turn on test 2. What's the object in the pipeline in this? And the first object is going to be data transform. We need to tell it that. Data transform. Okay, boom. Now this is technically active. Okay, so if I go ahead and turn on the render, people are like, oh, I don't see nothing. Where's the plane? It's gone, right? Like, we don't see anything. That's okay, right? Because we haven't generated anything to see. Next, what we're going to need to do is give it some type of thing. So first thing I'm going to do is do a join operation. So I can show you exactly what I showed you in the demo. We're going to come in here to geometry, and you can see there's other types of math, unions, offset, intersect, okay? But we're just going to do union for now. And I'm going to go ahead and plug that into there, the SDF geometry out, right? Boom. Now, what do we want to join? Well, we can do some primitives inside of here. Again, if we come in here, Shift A, texture, geometry. Right here we have box, capsule, cylinder, prism, sphere, all of these, right? I'm going to grab a box, and I'm also going to grab a sphere. All right, here's our two objects that we want to join. So I'm going to take the geometry out, put it into the input, and then geometry into the input. And immediately, now you see over here, we actually have something in the viewport. There is our square. Well, where's the sphere? If I grab the radius here and just make it larger, there is our sphere. It was just inside of there, okay? Set that back to default. So now, to move these around, like, because we can't click on anything, you notice there's nothing to click on, right? Matter of fact, if I turn off the render, there is nothing, okay? This is all being generated on the GPU using math in the background, okay? So now what we need to do is how are we going to move this around? It's very easy. We can click on transform and add a transform node here, and this is going to allow me to move it around, okay? But I want to do it a little bit easier. What I'm going to do is add in an empty. We're going to come down here, add in an empty, and I'm going to add in a cube empty. And I'm going to scale that just to about the size of there, right about there. I'm going to press Control A to confirm that scale. And now what I want to do is click back on my plane. Make sure you click this. This is the system is on this plane. So if as soon as you switch off, you notice everything disappears because now we're on the empty. Again, there's my plane. Now we're back onto the actual Vectron system, okay? In this here, what I'm going to do is I want to be able to move the empty to move the cube because right now it's not working. Very easy. Come in here, add in a object data node. Take this object data node and we're going to take the transformation of the empty. Anything where the empty moves around, we want to take that data and put it onto this box. So we're going to take this transformation and just plug this into transformation. And then what do you want to transform? We want to use the empty. And in this case, I got so many empties now. I'm going to just go ahead and grab this empty 002. All right. Now we need to tell it, hey, we're in Octane. This object data node can do regular Blender and Octane. So hey, I want the object from Octane. Now make sure this is important that you have this right. Now if I grab the cube or the empty, press G, now I can move it around, right? I can rotate it around and I can even scale it. right? Just like I normally would. Okay, so that's a very good workaround there to actually be able to grab it. Okay, we need to do the exact same thing for the sphere now. All right, so let's bring this down. Let's make a little bit more room space here. All right, I'm just gonna drag this object data node, bring it down here. And then what I'm gonna do here is also, let's go ahead and for the sake of this, I'm just gonna unplug it right now because I don't wanna see it. Or actually I'm gonna press M, mute, so I can see that. There we go. I'm gonna add in an empty, and we're just gonna add in a sphere empty. Scale it down to size, apply the scale, boom, click back on my plane, take the transfer data out into the transformation, select the empty. All right, grab the empty, let's test it out. There it is, I have control of the sphere. All right, boom. Now we can move our objects, scale our objects, and rotate our object. All right, now new in 2025, we can do displacement on this, which we couldn't do before. I'm gonna click back on my box, unmute that, bring it back into the active. Now what we wanna do is I wanna add some transformation data or texture displacement. There's a new node in Octane 2025. In Octane 2025, a lot of you are gonna say, I don't see this because it's in Octane 2025. We're gonna go down to geometry and you're gonna go to Vectron displacement. Click that, we're gonna add 2. We're gonna add 1 for the sphere, there that is, and then we're gonna duplicate that and add 1 for the cube. So we've got 2, okay? I'm just gonna do a little bit of housekeeping, grab both of those. I'm gonna press S, Y, 0. You notice the cubes have grown in size and the sphere has grown in size because now we got displacement. Well, now what we can do to really start having fun with this is I'm just going to add in, if you notice here, there's a texture slot. I'm gonna add in a noise texture and I'm gonna plug that into the texture slot. And then what we're gonna do is just duplicate this same thing, bring it up top, and plug it into the same texture slot. Now immediately you see our cube has taken the effect of it. There it is. Now it's actually displacing and it's working, and it's powerful. It's all real time. You may even start to hear your GPU start humming. Mine is already like, yo, what's going on out there? So now we can play with this. For example, I'm gonna go to chips. I like the looks here. I'm gonna go to chips, and then we're just gonna bring this down a little bit. Then I'm going to take my omegas, bring that down to 1, and there it is. Look, we've got some displacement happening, which is really cool. Now it's a little bit hard to see this because we've got white on white plus the white background, so we can give it a material, right? There is an actual material slot right up here. But just before we do that, there's one thing I want you to take note. If I grab this and if I rotate it, you notice that the geometry or the noise texture is not sticking to it because it's set to world origin right now. I want it to stick to the cube. Well, anything you do in Octane, especially when it's being animated and you're using procedurals, generation stuff, you need to have some type of projection, right? And we don't have any projection at the moment if you look. So we're gonna add in a projection. Right here, we're just gonna add in a UV projection. There it is, XY UV projection. And now what we're going to do is also, remember we're using the empty to translate our transform, so we need to take that data and also plug that into our UVW transform. Now if I grab this and if we rotate it around, boom, look at it's sticking. Oh, that's beautiful, right? Look at, okay, so let's repeat that also with the sphere. Again, click on the noise texture, add a UV projection, take the object data, transform out, and plug it into the XYZ transformation. Now the sphere is going to be also connected. Okay, now one other thing before we get really into the fun stuff. You notice we added this union here. Again, this is going to unionize the two geometries together. But right now, if I go ahead and grab the sphere or the cube, and let's just bring it up, nothing's happening. I don't see any unionize happening. And that's because we haven't actually given it a value yet. If you look here, the radius is set to 0. I'm going to go ahead and set that to 1. Oh, not 4, but 1. Boom, now look at that. It's actually unionizing too. And it seems like we might have a lot of displacement going, so we can cut this. I'm going to divide that in half on one of them. And let's come back up here to the second one and just that by half. Okay, and then maybe I can even grab my cube now and scale it down. And like, just look at that. It's all real time, guys. Check it out. It's super cool. And we go ahead and move that around. Now look at that. Boom. Now we've got this really happening. Like, it's really cool. It's a little bit hard to see, so I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. We're going to add some materials to it, okay? And again, on the displacement that we've got going here, we can control that noise texture. See this noise texture here? We're just going to add in a UVW transform, and this is going to allow us to scale it up, rotate it, or do whatever we want. So I'm going to take the scale on this and I'm going to make this a lot bigger, more chunky. Now if you look what we're doing here, look at, there's my scale. Look at that. Nice. Okay, let's add some color. But let's also give this guy here down below UV transform, control our noise, and there it is. Okay, So now let's give it a texture, because this is boring, just the white background and the white, right? So we can easily give it a texture. And what I'm actually going to do here, this is something I'm going to try right now with you guys live. So this may or may not work. I haven't really tried it. But I've got some textures here, some Blender Octane textures from PixeLab. Links down below if you guys are interested in grabbing some of those there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab one of these materials here. Let's grab this motion plastic. And what I'm going to do is how we're going to do this. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to just drag it onto the plane, because remember these other objects don't exist. Just the plane is the actual thing that only exists. So I'm going to grab this, and what I want to do is just group it. I'm going to grab everything, Control G, group it, tab out, come in here, copy this, all right? And then what I'm going to do is jump back out. I'll actually jump out, and then now we're on our plane. I'm going to go back to my test 2 texture. That's what we were using. There it is. And then I'm just going to paste it. I'm going to come in here and paste that material, and there it is. So we're going to take this material, and I just want to plug it into material, just like that. Boom. And that works. That is awesome. So we've got this material here, and it's connected to it here, and you can see there it is. There's the material. That looks great, right? It's like a plastic material. Okay, now one thing we take the note that if there is a projection in here, yeah, there is a projection. Okay, we've got some projections. Anytime we have anything, we have to have a projection on it. Cool. Now what I want to do, let's try it again. Now let's go down to the bottom one. I'm gonna take another let's do one that has like an image or something inside of it. Let's take this motion graphic 5, and I'm gonna drag that onto the plane. Nothing happens because it shouldn't, right? And motion graphics 5. Oh, this is from earlier. I did this. Let's go ahead and tab into here, and here it is. I'm just gonna copy all this stuff right about there. Copy that. And then what I'm going to do is again change this back to 2, because don't forget there's nothing in this scene but a plane. Again, if I turn this off, this is the only thing that exists in the scene, right? Turn that back on. All right, I'm gonna make this full screen because now I want to get in here, and what we're gonna do is try to paste this bigger material in here. Paste G, right? And let's grab this material here, G, and I'm just gonna bring it down right about there. And then what I want to do is plug this into the material slot. And we've got some images going on here, and again, they don't have projection maps on, so we need to give them a projection. And what are we? We're actually on the sphere this time. So what I'm going to do is actually come in here and add in a sphere projection, and I'm going to plug that up to anything that has an image map. This has it, and this has it. Okay. And then it looks like this was disconnected. Okay, that's no biggie, because what we actually want to do is this texture displacement, we're going to use that instead. Let's pump this texture displacement into the Vectron displacement instead of this noise here, right? Let's take that out, right? And let's just do this, since we have a texture and it actually displacement. This is, again, I haven't tried this. I mean, I tried it, but this is something different. Okay, now that that's in there, we've got this projection happening. We've got that. Let's jump out and see what it looks like. All right, that worked. There it is. That worked. Looks like the displacement is not lining up to the actual image. Let's turn the displacement down a little bit on this. Here's our Vectron displacement. Let's go ahead and turn that down by half, maybe even more. I'm gonna go divide by half again. All right, and then we're using the circle projection, so don't mind that, whatever. Let's see if it's moving. If I connect this and rotate this, it does not look like it's moving. Okay, so I may have broken something. Let me quickly go in here and make sure we have some type of projection. Connect this again. Okay, and the reason why it's not working is because if you look here, our projection has no data. Again, we need to take that object data right here from our empty, and we need to bring that data into there. So let's take this transformation out, and we're just going to plug that into this one here, and boom, there it goes. Now it moved. Okay, so if I grab this and we rotate like the actual seam, there we go. Nice. That's actually working too, guys. That is so dope. Check it out. Look at that. And we still got the interaction happening. Now don't mind, my viewport is a little bit slow right now because I'm also screen recording, so it's definitely a lot faster when doing that. So, and then if you wanted to animate, we just animate our empties. My mind is being blown right now, guys. I'll have this setup file down below. Links down below for Blender Octaners in the school community. And if you're not, I just helped you set it up. There'll be more videos like this coming.